What's up? I'm Tyler.
And I'm Dakota.
And this is the Bourbon and Business Podcast,
where we interview successful businessmen and women to let you in on why success doesn't have a single formula to follow.
We also have a little bourbon tasting along the way, because why not?
Why not?
So guys, please enjoy this episode and let us know your thoughts at Bourbon and Business Podcast on Instagram.
Coming to you from the Bourbon and Business Studio here in the Capitol Club in downtown Jackson, Mississippi. I'm Tyler.
And I'm Dakota.
And this is the Bourbon and Business Podcast. How you doing this morning, Dakota?
I'm incredible, Tyler. I've got this beautiful view of the Jackson skyline here over beside me. It's fantastic.
Yep. So
How
we
about
are.
yourself?
I'm doing great. We are here in the billiard room
Yeah.
in the Capitol Club.
As you can see by the pool cue.
Pool
behind
6
us.
behind us, if
Yeah.
anybody was wondering. So if you're not a member of the Capitol Club, you need to go online and get you a membership. Best networking space. They do lunch daily and a great event space too. Best views in Jackson.
For sure. You know, fun fact about pool, I shoot pool left-handed, but I am
Really?
right-handed.
Is that why you're so bad at pool?
I think so. I also shoot a gun left-handed, just because the person who taught me how to play pool was left-handed.
I
Fantastic.
guess that's how you do it. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, and not if you want to be good.
Well, you want to introduce our guest to us this morning?
I do. Today we have special guest, James Hatfield. He is the Chief Revenue Officer of LiveSwitch. James, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I
Yep.
love it. Starting the day off with bourbon is always a good thing.
Yeah, I tell you what, you can't go downhill when you start the day off with bourbon. That's for sure.
Nowhere to go but up. You're already at the bottom.
Well, what are we sipping on today, Dakota?
Today we're sipping on Rebel 100. It is the official bourbon of RCR,
So what is RCR?
Race Car Racing.
Okay, nice.
I don't know. I just made that up.
Well, I do see like a race car flag behind it there.
Yeah,
So
there's
that's,
something there. It's some kind of race something.
I will say this has got a good burn to it.
Okay.
Very good burn. So I'm going to have to go with 7.8.
7.8.
7.8. So,
Okay.
and proof wise, you're probably looking at what, 110?
It's 100 proof. It's Rebel 100.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Sorry about that. It's 100 proof, so wasn't paying attention there.
We'll get my thoughts here in just a little bit. And James, we'll get your take. I know you're in a whiskey club, so we'll get your take on one of your favorite bourbons at the end here, if that's all right with you.
Oh, that's perfectly fine with me.
Okay, cool. Good deal.
All right, James. Well, I like to always start this off just to get your background, where you're from, where you grew up, and then how you got to the point of becoming the Chief Revenue Officer for LiveSwitch.
Yeah. So I am raised in the South. I was raised in Durham, North Carolina. So I was a Blue Devil until I went to the brighter side, which I like NC State. And then I found my girl at UNC Chapel Hill. So those
You
schools
covered
all,
the gambit, didn't you?
oh, have to. I mean, but then you land, so. But, I love the stock market and I love numbers. And it's the best game in town to me. And so anything around numbers was what I wanted to do. But before that, I come from blue collar family. So my grandfather, he died young. Or no, he didn't die young. His father died young. And he had to become the man of the house when he was not even out of high school. And he went and worked at a tire shop and put his family through it. So, I mean, that was a guy who really pushed me in my life. He really wanted me to be something. And what he wanted me to be was the guy who painted the lines on the highway. That was his big goal for me. I was like, all right, Grandpa, I'm not going to paint the lines, but I started a house painting company and figured I might want to put myself through college. So while I was doing my house painting company for many years, power washing company, put myself through college, got my business degree, and I was set off to go and start a hedge fund. That's what I wanted. That was my dream, is let's go start a hedge fund. But it ended up getting hooked up with this guy. He's a partner of mine now. We've been together for 20 plus years, and we took a company from nothing. We were in an incubator, and then Inc. 500 made a multi-billion-dollar company, and it still exists today. It's called Abrigo, and you might, if you're in the banking industry, and I think you are, you might have heard of it. So that was our first round, and then we'll get into the next round. But I'm a technology guy. I'm a blue-collar guy, and I think all of it's going to come together when we talk a little bit about where I am now.
Okay.
You are the polar opposite of Tyler. He is also a blue collar guy, but he is not a technology guy.
No, I use a little bit of technology.
You're like both of us combined into one person, which is fantastic. That's like a superpower, man. Lucky you.
Well, so tell us a little bit about the next round here. So what What exactly are you involved in now?
Yeah, so we all got into philanthropy for a little bit. I came up here to Asheville and started a nonprofit. And then my partner, he started a nonprofit for inmates to entrepreneurs, put thousands and thousands of currently incarcerated and previously incarcerated men and women through our program. We teach them how to run a business. And it resulted in an ABC television show called Free Enterprise. He's a star of the show, that one. And we love doing that. And we're too young to kind of put our cleats up. So we're like, well, let's build another billion-dollar company. So we searched hundreds and hundreds of companies. We had plenty of capital from the last exit. And we bought a company in Canada. Now it's US based. So we're in the Raleigh area in Apex, North Carolina. But we bought it 4 years ago. And we got into a technology called WebRTC. You've probably never heard of it, and that's okay. It's web real-time communication, and you use it all the time. You don't even know it. All right, we're one of 4 companies that do this in the world. And I'm a gadget guy, so I'm a tinker. So I can tell you where we went from there. But we bought this company 4 years ago. It's all tech, and it's all web real-time communication, which is audio, video, moving data at high speed. And I managed the engineers for a little while, and they were speaking English to me, but I didn't understand a dang on word they were saying. I was like, can you explain it to me like I'm 5, gentlemen? And eventually I figured it out, and the story continues, but that's where we're at right now.
I love that episode of The Office. I don't know if you're a big fan of it or not, when Michael Scott is talking to Oscar, his accountant, and he's like, okay, explain it to me like I'm 5. And Oscar's like, all right, your mommy and daddy give you $10 for a lemonade stand, but you only need $9. That's one of my favorite scenes. But man, yeah, I totally get that, because I love technology. I feel like, a little bit on the higher end as far as when it comes to the general public on my understanding of it and how it works and things like that. But if I talk to like an audio engineer or a developer or somebody like that, they would run circles around me and not even break a sweat. I mean, it is wild how deep you can go into the realm of technology and what.
Oh yeah, you give him that look like a dog gives you when he doesn't understand what you're saying. That's what happens when I start talking to certain engineers. I'm like, I'm checked out. I don't know what you're talking about, man.
Well, man, that's awesome that you guys built a company from nothing and then sold it for a ton of money and then built another company now from basically nothing. I mean, I know it was already established at this point, but what is the goal for this company, for this RTC company?
Oh, nothing but pride in all the right ways. Once you do something once, like if you play college ball, you want to play pro ball.
Right.
Right. So the last company is great, multi-billion-dollar company, but most average person has never heard of it.
Yeah.
And I don't expect that. And that's called college football right there. Now, pro ball in the business world is, I think we've heard of a little fruit company called Apple.
Yeah.
Right. So that's my Forrest Gump reference.
I was about to say, a little Forrest Gump there.
I'm a Forrest Gump fan. I love Forrest. But we want to go all the way to pro, be a household name with this next one and make another billion-dollar company. We just needed a little bit of a head start. So we bought this company, and we've been retooling everything, how we run revenue and how we build products. And when I was running our product team, I got a chance to reinvent the 911 phone call, as one does, right? With the chief of police in Washington, D.C.
Wait, are you serious?
I'm dead serious. I'm not a good liar. I'm not that smart. Yeah. So 911. Yes, 911 call. You place a 911 call. The worst part of your phone is the phone. How ironic is that? It's on this ancient technology called telephony. It just sucks. We're using fax machines to, phone it in. Also, when you're compromised and you're in a situation and you're trying to explain what's going on, you're going to kind of suck at it usually, unless you go into some Zen moment. So the idea was, hey, everyone's got a smartphone in their hand. I think they issue these when you're born now. And you get a text, you tap it, and now you point that camera right at the situation, and that feed goes right to the police car, fire truck, so they can see what they're driving into. It's called situational awareness. All right. Wow. And using the citizen's phone. And I got pretty heated about all these school shootings. And so I was like, well, we can't arm all the teachers with AK-47s. It's probably not going to go over well. I was like, well, why don't we get this rolled out across campuses and universities?
Yeah.
So this is now being rolled out and has been across Duke University.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
LiveSwitch,
are you only working in the 911 phone call space, or are there other spaces you're working in as well?
the story continues. So government takes forever. Shocker, I know. So I was like, well, who else could use this text to connect? Well, I started talking to one of my buddies, and he's in the self-storage industry. He's pretty popular. He just got inducted in the Hall of Fame of self-storage. Okay. You know, and good for him. Yeah, he did it. He's doing well. And he's like, why don't you just come into self-storage and disrupt this thing? We're all trying to centralize and have less people, but more buildings. And, you know, we're trying to figure this thing out. So I was like, I don't know a dang thing about self-storage. He's like, don't worry about it. You know, come with me to Vegas. We'll go to one of the big conferences. I'll introduce you to everyone. So I start meeting all the who's who's in self-storage and start pen to paper. Well, in my case, since I'm a tech guy, you know, Apple Pencil to pad as one does, right? Dakota, I see you, Dakota, with yours. So we started designing a way to disrupt that. In my ignorance, I saw these moving and storage companies. Like, well, there's storage. Let me call these guys. So I have no shame. I'll call anybody so I can learn. And the guy was like, yeah, we don't do storage like what you're thinking. But I bumped into what I call a serious guy, like a guy who knows what he's talking about in the moving industry, like moving boxes from point A to point B. It'd be the most boring industry ever. But he's like, you have no idea what you have with that emergency response stuff. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, we're just going to use it to do remote estimates. We'll just text a person and they can walk us around and show us what we're bidding. And that way I don't have to roll a truck out there. And because all customers care about is how much is it? When can you do it? And do you got 5 stars on your Google review?
Wow.
And guess what? He was right.
Yeah.
He was very, very right. And now we have hundreds and hundreds of home service companies use our stuff all over the world to do virtual estimates.
Well, Tyler, could insurance companies do that too?
Yeah, they're actually some of them. There are some apps out there that they will. I don't know how they do it
with my
but
car.
they can take pictures and it will actually estimate the square footage and all that type of stuff. So it may be some of y'all's products. I'm not sure, but I do know that capability is out there though.
That's fantastic, man. Way to disrupt multiple industries. I love that. That's cool.
Oh yeah, buy a painting company owner, 4 painting companies. So it's full circle. It's all just full circle for me. I was just on a painting podcast the other week. I was like,
there you go.
God, talking to my people.
Well, no,
I'm talking to bourbon guys, so I'm really talking to my people right now.
There you go. There you go.
I mean, that is a pretty cool concept though, because you got to think about it now. You know, everything is done so virtual. You know, the expectation is they want it to be quick, easy, fast, and you know, you don't have to deal with, I got to set an appointment up. Somebody's got to come tour my house to look at all the furniture to tell me how much it's going to cost to move it versus, you know, with y'all's product there, you just scan the room and it's done. So I definitely could see that being, the ease of business there is much easier than the old method.
Oh man, the efficiency is just improved exponentially. I mean, that doesn't even compare to what it was before. To have to set up an appointment, it feels like the Stone Age now.
Oh yeah. Everyone's like, why haven't we done this sooner? And even the chief of police looked across his glasses. You know, you have messed up when someone looks over the bridge. He's like, why haven't we done this earlier before? And I was like, well, Mr. Officer, we didn't have these smartphones in our pockets. And now we do. Now we're going to use them and abuse them in all the right ways. And so, you know, I mean, the one reason that these guys roll trucks out is because of their award-winning personality. And I got to give a firm handshake. Like, yeah, you're not that cool, you know, and what you're really trying to do is get their money. You know, you're trying to get in the house and you ain't leaving that house until someone signs the paper or they put some cash in your hand. I know what's going on. And everybody else does that too. And frankly, I don't really want you in my house unless you're coming here to work. You know, like I'm not going to sit down with you and chum it up. Like, so we're trying to help people understand, look, when you put your face video, live video, and the customer can see you while they're walking around, you still get to use your award-winning personality, but the human face closes deals at a 60% rate compared to talking on the phone or, Lord help you, talking to a computer. They close at about 30% if they're good. So there's a whole
Never heard that statistic before. That's incredible.
Oh yeah, our customers track. I got some very geeky customers that track everything. You know, down to the penny and down to the dollar and down to the close rates. And the close rates don't lie, and that's what it is.
So how is AI affecting your technology?
I will add AI later. Okay. Right now, we're just trying to get people to hit the on button.
Mm-hmm.
Really. Like our whole mode is simplicity. You guys remember the Nextel walkie-talkie back in the day?
Yeah.
Made it, if you had that. Why was it good? You click a button, you talk. The other person's sitting or getting their breakfast at the Waffle House, and they're cool because they got the breaker without, you know, like that kind of stuff. Like, we're over it. You guys have heard it, you know, and they were like, you know, and then they hop in the truck and go. We had to make this as easy as a phone call or easier. We have a scan a QR code live video. It's easier than a phone number. I can't remember my own phone number. Like phone numbers, they are going away, by the way. But AI is all the rage. I get it. I got it. But like, here's the thing. I had one of my TV guys, he hangs TVs and puts in speakers. He's like, James, I had a 90-year-old on the LiveSwitch the other day. Proud of it. And that's what it takes. We'll do the AI stuff later, but I got to get the 90-year-old to tap the text. Just take your finger and point it and tap it, and we're good. That's what game changes things. You pick the phone up to answer it. You don't have to be a rocket scientist.
Right. Well, think about too, getting like how many issues you have getting on a Zoom call or whatever technology. I'm not just singling Zoom out. Whatever video technology there's always somebody. I can't get the video to work. I can't get the audio to work. Somebody's talking on mute every time they talk, or somebody don't know how to mute their computer.
Or somebody didn't turn their microphone on, right?
Yeah, that could happen now that you mentioned it. But, it can be cumbersome as far as using those technologies. It's definitely not a one-tap type situation.
We cut everything out, and we don't even do apps. Nobody wants to download an app. I can't remember the password to download an app, and I got to sit there and wait. Pain in the butt, I just want to tap it. I just want the car to start. I want to hit the go button now instead of turn the key like we used to back in the day. And maybe you still do. You got a, manual shift car, which I love those. But, we just want the thing to work and it be easy,
Yeah.
And
So
the problem when engineers build things, when you give something to engineers, you know what they do? They over-engineer it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Naturally. That's just what they do, right? That's their job. They make it work, and they make it work very well, but it does not necessarily work easily for the end user. And that's where the disconnect between sales and marketing and product is the fact that product develops it, it works, great job. I have no idea how to use it. And it's like, well, if you just do this, and it's like, that's not going to work for our 90-year-old clients. They need
not at all. We make our engineers go sit with our customers and go sit with the end user. Like, go actually watch them, like, watch them use your stuff. Like, because you can't see sitting in your basement anymore coding and playing on your Macintosh. You know what I mean? Like, you need to get with the people, and I think because my background is a blue collar guy, I understand my people. So I'm able to create technology that works for the everyday guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's what we need. So how do you compete with Zoom and Microsoft Teams and Google Meet and all the companies that have just billions to pump into whatever they want?
They're nice and slow. They are.
Yeah.
Like, I got one of my largest customers is one of the biggest tech companies, and we power their live video under the hood. All right. I can't say it because there's a beautiful thing called an NDA.
Yeah.
Right. But even the largest companies in the whole world, live video is a pain in the butt. And that's my Coca-Cola recipe. And so imagine being able to take all the guts out of those companies, and now I can create third-party assistants, right? Like, if you want to have a video call, great. But if you want to like actually do a third party, have a remote assistant walk around the job site, you can't use Zoom. You can't use Teams. You could try. You could say, "Oh, I'll use it just fine." I'm like, "Yeah," but you can't. Like that. We always say when you're ready to graduate to like a tool, like I can, open. What I'm trying to think of. Like, I mean, I can open a bottle with a screwdriver. I can do that, or I can just use a bottle cap opener. Like it's just this stuff didn't exist. When you don't have the supplies, you improvise. So people are using the FaceTimes and the Google Meets and all that stuff, but that's not a great customer experience.
No.
Ask the 90-year-old to get on a Microsoft Teams.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
No.
Well, tell us a little bit touch on, you've done a lot of things. Obviously, you've been involved in many businesses. What motivates you in business to keep growing and to keep expanding and not just to ride off into the sunset?
What would I do? I mean, really?
That's the $1 million question.
Yeah.
I mean, sit on the couch. I mean, I like golf. I play some golf, I guess, travel around but I don't know, for me, lasts for a little. I'm a builder, man. Like, a builder's going to build.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. Like, you can't leave me. Like, I had 3 months when I was in between doing stuff, and I built another. Here you go. This is me. All right. So I'm going to date myself. I got a few gray hairs. But when YouTube first started, I got interested in it. And they finally started putting cameras in the laptop. So I made videos, and I'm a numbers guy, but I also like this thing called fantasy football. You see all these trophies right here? I mean, this right here was giving me my Buffalo Wild Wings. It's a Joe Namath ball because the story, check this out. So I start telling people who to pick up on the waiver wire on a YouTube video. I was like, oh, I'm sure someone will be interested because I'm always finding random players and starting them at any given week to win. Because that's how you win fantasy football, by the way, gentlemen, or at least get in the top every time. You work the waiver wire.
Yeah.
So I started making videos. Of course, you get like no hits when you start. Well, the third video exploded. And I was like, how did this happen? Well, the New York Times put my video on the New York Times.
That is
But
hilarious.
I was like, who did this? So I found the person who did it, reached out to her. I was like, why did you do that? She's like, it was good content. She's like, do you have a website? I'm like, no, I don't have a website. She's like, you should make one. So I did. And then fast forward the clock, this little thing called Google Plus came out. Remember that? The thing that tried to compete with Facebook and totally nosedive? Well, they reach out to me and they're like, hey, we want you to be one of our fantasy football gurus. Well, I started doing a podcast with a little guy named Tiki Barber, if you heard of him.
Yeah.
And I had 500,000 followers. And then this little thing, the first iPad was coming out. The first iPad. And I remember drafting my teams with pen and paper. And some people still do it. They print it out. And I was like, this is stupid. Like, I just need to know who to draft and quick. So I found a couple of nerds and we built the first fantasy football draft guide for the iPad. And we were a top app. So I just go build stuff. So what motivates me? Sometimes if the thing doesn't exist, I'm like, we need a digital draft guide. It'll be way easier. I'll just build it. And it did.
Well, and it's it sounds like you have a knack though for building things that are very useful to people. So that there's an actual problem that we're solving here. And I think that to be successful in business, if you're going to start a business, you definitely need to be solving some sort of problem. Because if not, I mean, who cares if you remake something? You can already get it. But if you're actually building something that makes people's lives easier, it's going to grow at an exponential rate. And I think that you've seen that throughout your career.
Yeah. And then there's this little thing called hustle. Like, I do stuff most guys won't do. When we invented the moving company thing I was telling you about earlier, we didn't have a name for it when I first built it. I picked up the phone and cold called 150 movers a day.
Yeah.
150 movers a day. I just went in and started cold calling them. I'm like, hey, check this out. What do you think? What do you think? After that, one guy said, you have no idea what you have. I was like, well, let's see. And again, bam, and I hired some more sales guys. I was like, look, movers are in their truck moving. You can't send emails. You can't you can, but they're not going to look at it. You can try to connect with them on LinkedIn, but guess what? They're not on LinkedIn. They're in their truck, call their cell phone. And so a lot of folks won't do that. Yeah. They're not going to put in the sweat equity to get those first 10 customers. But I will go and, by God, I will, like Santa Claus, come to your, chimney and find you.
All right. Well, and I think, the successful entrepreneurs out there, they have that about them. Like, they're not too good to do any job, and they're going to do whatever it takes to make the company successful. And I think to be successful in business, it takes that. I've heard people say it takes what it takes, no matter if that's, me staying to 8 o'clock and calling 150 people. If that's what it takes, that's what it takes. And you have people that are willing to give that and people that are not. And that is truly the difference in the people that are successful and the ones that are not are the ones that are actually willing to put the work in. And I don't care what you do. I don't care how great your idea is. If you're not willing, it's going to require some work. And if you're not willing to put the work in, it won't be successful. So
that'll preach all day long.
For sure. For sure.
Well, Dakota, I think it's a good time for a bourbon break. Give us your thoughts on the bourbon.
So I liked it. A Rebel 100, official bourbon of the RCR, whatever that is, the race car racing. And I thought it had a really good chocolate flavor to it. I don't know if you tasted that or not, but I could feel the chocolate, and there was almost like a dark chocolate. It was a little bit of a bitter flavor. But I'm going to land at 8.3.
8.3.
Yeah,
so
not too bad, but it could stand a little bit of improvement there too.
So for that, we'll land at a 8.0 for the Rebel 100 114 proof.
That sounds good. And James, tell us as we're rounding up here, what's one of your favorites and why? Real quick.
Oh man, I got a story behind that one too. So I have a buddy. We have the exact same birthday, same year, same everything. We were turning 21 on the same day. This is a few decades ago. And so we're like, we're distinguished gentlemen. Let's go get a whiskey book. Like instead of doing beers and like a bunch of Coors Lights or whatever, let's go and learn about whiskey. So we bought a book and we started reading the reviews because I know crap about bourbon. And the name of the author was Michael Jackson. No, not the singer. Like, and actually he's the bourbon reviewer and a dang good one. And he said the best whiskey in the whole world was George T. Stagg. So how does one go get George T. Stagg? Now, nowadays, everyone, if you've heard of that whiskey, good luck in it.
Yeah.
Although I find a way. So we were like, well, let's just hop in the van or car and drive to Kentucky and let's go find it. So we did. So we hopped in the car, went to Buffalo Trace, and we were like, where is this George T. Stagg found? Apparently it's the number one. And then this Thomas Handy one too. We'll find that one because they're the top. So we went to a little gas station, and the gas station had been converted into a liquor store. And there it was. And nowadays, I think people pay on secondary for George T. like $1,000 or something ridiculous.
Wow.
Back then, we just went up there into the gas station, swiped the card for like $50.
Yeah.
We poured George T. Stagg. Oh my goodness. That'll change your life.
Really?
George T. Stagg will change your life.
I've never had it, so I
haven't
have
either.
to try to figure out how to get some.
Yep.
But it is crazy how the bourbon market has exploded over the past several years. I guess, thanks to social media. But even things just like a bottle of Buffalo Trace is hard to find right now. Everything's flying off the shelves.
Yep.
But tell our listeners, if they're wanting to check your company out or follow you on social media, what is the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, go to our website, LiveSwitch, LiveSwitch.com, LiveSwitch.com, or find me on LinkedIn. Look up James Hatfield. Yes, I am a Hatfield and McCoy. My great-great-uncle is Devil Anse Hatfield. And I will be happy to connect with you on LinkedIn and continue the conversation. Would love to meet you.
Nice. Well, however you stream this podcast, if you would give us a rating and follow us on social media, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Hope you guys enjoyed this episode.
If you have any feedback or would like to be featured, reach out to us at bourbonandbusinesspodcast@gmail.com.
Or find us on Instagram at Bourbon and Business Podcast.
Thanks again for listening.
Follow us for more content and info on the next episode.